What's going on, my people? This is Intergalactic Brew, the dude, coming at you once again, live, direct, and in effect. I wanted to do a video on the UFC's welterweight division. This is another MMA video I'm doing, and I wanted to do a video on the UFC's welterweight division because, it just seems like, the way that GSP has just been splattering everybody in his division. I know everybody out there, when I mean everybody, I mean y'all, those out there in YouTube and everywhere else all across the globe, have been thinking of the one guy that can stop GSP's dominance over the welterweight division. And I was actually thinking about that myself. So I decided, instead of just letting it be stuck in my mind, I decided to do a video, and I wanted to ask y'all out there to send me your comments and your opinions on who do you think could be the next big contender for George St.Pierre. That is, if Jake Shields does not pull off the world's greatest upset on the 30th of this coming month and beats GSP. And even for Jake Shields, let's just say Jake Shields does pull off the world's greatest upset and defeats George St.Pierre and wins the welterweight title. Who do you think could be the guy to stop Jake Shields? Now I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to give you a couple of blueprints of what I think it takes to stop GSP. The man who's going to stop GSP, first of all, he's got to have A1 level striking. Okay? It doesn't matter what style. It could be Muay Thai, it could be karate, it could be boxing, it could be Sanshao, it could be Taekwondo, whatever. But his striking has to be on a high level. Number two, he's got to be just as good a wrestler as GSP is. Number three, he's got to be quick. And number four, he's got to be strong. So, when you give me your opinions on this, let that be the four blueprints that you think about: striking, grappling, power, and aggressive. That's another thing. Let that be the 4 or 5 or one of those, however many elements I just said. Take those into consideration when you give me your opinions, because I just want to see, because I can think of maybe a couple of guys that could possibly pull it off, but you guys out there that follow mixed martial arts and particularly follow the UFC knows what competition is out there. I know the competition too, but I just want to hear it from y'all's mouth. I want to hear what y'all have to say about who could be the next contender, if Jake Shields, that is. And that's a big if, because Jake Shields can pull it off. He could do it. He's gone 6 years undefeated now. Take that into consideration. And Jake Shields has beaten some of the best in MMA to get to this point. He beat Yushin Okami, which for some people might be impossible to do. He beat Mayhem Miller, which back then people thought was impossible to do. He beat Dan Henderson. How many people can say they've done that? He beat Robbie Lawler, a former multi-time welterweight champion in his own right. He's beating Carlos Condit, a future top contender or soon to be top contender in the UFC. I mean, that's just to name a few. And to top it off, he's also beaten Paul Daly, submitted him easily, and Daly's about to challenge Nick Diaz next Saturday for the welterweight championship of Strikeforce. So think about it now. Don't count this guy out. Just because he's a pure jiu-jitsu fighter, don't think he doesn't have a trick up his sleeve. Because, like I always say all the time, it only takes that one special opponent to beat that one great fighter. And Jake Shields might be that guy. You never know. You know what I'm saying? GSP's got to be brought down one day. Just take it into consideration. But anyway, I want to know who you guys think. And it doesn't even have to be in the UFC. It could be in Dream. It could be Bellator. It could be Strikeforce. Wherever. It could be in Sengoku, wherever. But I want to know, overall, who do you think would be the welterweight contender to beat either St. Pierre or Shields? Most particularly St. Pierre. But, just for some reason, if Jake Shields does happen to win the title at the end of this coming month in April, who would be the best possible guy that you can see beating Jake Shields? But for now, we're going to talk about GSP because he is the current welterweight champion right now. But just to give you a little sample of what I'm trying to get across, I can think of maybe a few guys that I could see that would give GSP a serious challenge. I'm talking about in the UFC now. Well, you know what? No. I'm going to go overall. Let's see. Okay, first guy that comes off the top of my head, Carlos Condit. Now I know a lot of y'all are probably looking at me that will watch this video and be like, are you serious? Did you just say Carlos Condit? Yes, Carlos Condit, the natural born killer, the former WEC welterweight champion. Matter of fact, I think the last WEC welterweight champion, if I'm not mistaken. Okay? The guy's extremely aggressive, very determined, well-rounded. He's a very good kickboxer, so his striking is, on a higher level. He has very good submissions. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I think he's a black belt or a brown belt, one of those. He's tall. He has pretty good reach. He moves well. And he's very good at mixing things up. That's what a lot of GSP opponents fail to do. And that's why GSP ends up exposing them as being one-dimensional for the simple fact that they don't make themselves unpredictable enough. That's why GSP is able to expose their weaknesses, being that they are typically one-dimensional. And then they let their egos get involved and they try to think that they can predict GSP and say that they're going to knock him out or they're going to submit him or whatever. And they end up failing. But Carlos Condit, being as well-rounded as he is, I think if he fought GSP for the championship, I think he'd have a good chance of beating him. Just saying. This is my opinion, folks. Don't get all sensitive and thin-skinned, which I know a lot of you are out there, but I'm just saying. Just hear me out, okay? Another guy, Anthony Rumble Johnson. Again, I know y'all are probably looking at me like I just said Osama bin Laden was going to bomb America again, or bomb the rest of New York or something. Okay, but let me tell you why. First of all, Anthony Johnson is a very strong guy. Huge. Okay? Second of all, he's tall as heck. Number 3, he's a very excellent wrestler, if you didn't know, as displayed in the Dan Hardy fight that happened just a week ago. And number 2, he does have knockout power. I mean, you've seen what he did to Kevin Burns. You saw what he did to Yoshida. You saw what he did to Tommy Spear and I forget that other guy's name that he knocked out. But, you know, I mean, even though those first 2 guys that, you know, he KO'd weren't top 10 level competition, but still, he beat the guys he was supposed to beat, and he beat them in very violent, barbaric fashion, you know. And he even dropped Dan Hardy with a head kick. Okay, so, but I think that, you know, Anthony Johnson, I think the only thing that's eluding him from being a title contender is number 1, submission defense, and number 2, submissions overall. If he can learn some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I know he's probably already learning, but if he can get better at Jiu-Jitsu and get some submission defense, he'll be set. And once he combines all of those skills together and displays them in a few fights and gets some really good wins up under his belt, I can see him being a challenger for GSP if he is still the welterweight champion, that is. Okay. Okay, let's go to another guy. Let's go to let's say Nick Diaz, the Strikeforce welterweight champion. I think Nick Diaz has all it takes to beat George St.Pierre. You know, he's pretty much well-rounded too. You know, very crisp technical striking, because of course he is a professional boxer or amateur boxer, one of those. Number 2, like Carlos Condit, extremely aggressive, physically tough. You know, he can take a lot of hits and punishment and stuff. You know, again, top level grappler, black belt BJJ under Cesar Gracie. Pretty tall himself. You know, loves to pour the pressure on his opponents. You know, so I mean that right there, you know, is all the makings of, you know, a guy that can beat GSP, along with Carlos Condit's style as well. You know, and then on top of that, he has very good reach himself. You know, so. Yeah, I could definitely see Nick Diaz having a chance against GSP if they fought. Even, you know, Paul Daly. You know, Paul Daly, again, sort of like Anthony Rumble Johnson. You know, probably not as tall, but, you know, very big and strong. Has knockout power. Has improved his takedown defense. Has improved his submission defense. If he learns submissions, I think that'll better his chances. And also, you know, if he brushes up his wrestling skills as well, I think that'll help him out in the long run too. So, yeah, because I mean, you know, with Paul Daly's KO power, and we know GSP and you know, strikers don't get along. So, you know, if Paul Daly masters all those skills that he hasn't mastered yet, along with the ones he has mastered, oh my gosh, heck yeah, I could see him knocking out GSP. Like, for real, he can do it, you know. But I mean, those are guys just off the top of my head that I could think of right now. You know, I can't really think of anyone else right now at the moment. But you let me know and leave me your comments, because I want to hear y'all's predictions and opinions on who you think could be the best possible guy to beat GSP. And I may not be able to read all of them at one moment, but I will definitely get to all of them. So make sure you do that. Leave the comments. I want to hear. Let me know. Until then, deuces.